My topic today, I have chosen Spiritualism, the light of the world. You know, in the early 1900s, one of our famous pioneers, Elizabeth Harlow Goetz, had a pamphlet constructed that was identified as Spiritualism, the light of the world. Our solid rock of spiritualism is our philosophy. And that is where we stand, and that is where we must be strong. We need someone standing at the helm of the great ship of that philosophy, because it appears that ship has drifted out to sea. How far can we let it drift? We as spiritualists today must take up our banner, and we must all unify as one and stand behind that helm and bring that ship back to shore. This is the time, this is the age, this is the hour that spiritualists must take a reality check. Where we have been and where we are going. Spiritualists began in Hydesville with the famous rappings and the communication with spirit. But that was just the initiation of the movement that became a philosophical movement. And the people in Philadelphia formed a society of spiritualists. And they had every week and during the week philosophers come in and discuss the philosophy of modern spiritualism. They did this from 1848 until 1854, when at that time, 6 years later, they finally allowed mediumship to be a part of spiritualism. And that mediumship became a part of the philosophy. But even at that time, they did not allow it in the philosophical hall. They rented separate buildings wherein mediumship could be demonstrated and where one could go and learn about the communication with spirit. But they reserved the precious hall to teach the philosophy, the rock, the ship of spiritualism. Then in the 1860s, mediumship became quite prominent, and it became important to learn just what it was all about. And we find at that time that what mediumship did was prove the continuity of life and get the message from spirit that we could mold our character with the highest teachings received from the spirit side of life. That was the purpose of mediumship. What is mediumship today? I am sorry to tell you that today a new term has been given to it by those people in England, and they have called it EFC, Evidence-Free Communication. That, my friends, is not mediumship. That is pure psychism. If we cannot prove the continuity of life, we are not demonstrating mediumship. We need to remember that EFC doesn't give us the highest teachings from the spirit world. And so how can we mold our characters if we do not hear? As I said before, mediumship falls under our philosophy. And it is important today that we continue to understand that it is the philosophy that is the truth and the primary foundation of modern American spiritualism. Also drifting is the first 9 letters of the word of spiritualism, the word spiritual. Unless we have spirituality, we are not practicing spiritualism. We need to remember that when we take the spiritual out, the only remaining letters are I, S, M. which I have identified as I see me, the ego. Yes, we need an ego, and yes, we need to keep our ego in balance. But if we allow the ego to take the primary control of our being, we are creating negativity. If you want to find out who is using their ego, look around. Who wants to control everything? Who wants to be in the spotlight all the time? Who is the one who doesn't promote love and understanding? With a lack of the expression of ego in proper balance, we find we have deception. We have all these horrifying things, and particularly self-importance. The ego out of control is a human being who has allowed themselves to run wild. And yes, because of this, spiritualism has drifted out into the sea. But you know, for every problem there is a solution. And we as spiritualists have that solution. While it has been lost at sea and tossed by the waves, we as spiritualists can drop the anchor and bring it back to shore and teach that truth and live that truth. We have a responsibility today. But first, maybe we need to clarify what a spiritualist is. So often we hear someone say, "Oh, I'm a spiritualist." Well, back in 1914, our forefathers agreed on a definition of a spiritualist. And it is, and I quote, "One who believes as the basis of his or her religion in communication with this and the spirit world by means of mediumship, and one who endeavors to mold his character and his conduct in accordance with the highest teachings derived therefrom." So it is important we understand that. As we move into this new age, we need to attract new people. But how can we attract them? We must give them something that they can put their teeth in, something that they can feel solid, something that can help them go in their everyday life. Not something that happens on Wednesday night or Sunday, but something that goes with them through their trials, through their tribulations, through their joys, and through their sorrows. We need to know that we can put on the armor of spiritualism by walking the walk of that which that philosophy is grounded upon. Ponder that truth. Ponder the word spiritual. Just what exactly does it mean? It relates to sacred matters. It relates to those things that are spiritual and not material. It relates to being an elevated consciousness with loftier ideals and loftier ideas. It relates to becoming in tune with the infinite. It relates to being godlike. Let that spark that is within us be projected outward, so that light of spiritualism blinds the eyes, but opens the hearts. The essence of our very being, our very existence, is the spiritual within us. We're here prepping ourselves for the next world, for an extension of life that goes on, ever onward. It moves in every direction. We must bring that ship back to the shore. And the only way we can do it is by spiritualists being spiritual. We need to teach. We're moving rapidly through the 21st century. We're already into the second decade. And not only that, we're in the third year of that. Almost. No, we're not. We're in the first year of it. But we're going to be in the third year of it before we know it. Because time is moving so fast. And so we want to express that understanding, and we want to recognize we have a great opportunity. We collectively can change the world. But it starts individually by changing ourselves. And when we change ourselves, we see others differently, because we have looked at ourselves in the mirror and seen the truth. And we have seen what we need to do to change our outward appearance because our outward appearance reflects the inward, the soul. You know, if we don't take advantage of it in this decade and the next, as we go through this century, what is going to happen? We'll be fretting and we'll be banging our heads against the wall, saying, why me? Why me? Why is this happening to me? The same old story. In this century, the age of Aquarius, we're going to find the spiritual moves fast. And are we ready for it? Are we ready for the pace? We can look around us today and we can see how the world is changing. We can see how dictators are falling. We can see how new people are stepping forth to be leaders. We can see that we're in a time of change, and religions are changing. All denominations are looking at life differently. So change is imminent. And if we want to really go ahead and improve ourselves, we have to change. We have to go with the flow. And that makes me think of the words of Sylva Birch, who was the guide of Maurice Barbanel, the famous pioneer who had the Psychic News, which was on the newsstands for 75 years. And Sylva Birch said, and I quote, "We must not be blinded to the need for change. With respect to our forefathers, times have changed. Expressions have changed. Although we should maintain a reverence for the teachings of the past, we must live in the present and prepare for the future. We must recognize when there is a need for change." And so we were admonished long ago that things were changing. Unfortunately, some chose to stay in the rut, in that comfortable rut. The energies of the planet of Neptune and Pisces is in control. Neptune is charged with spirituality, and it's charged with taking care of the spiritual. So since that planet is going to be very prominent in this decade, it assures us that which we know is true, that we are going to move into a spiritual age. It is a time also when we come into change. We become capable of becoming all that we have within us if we allow ourselves to move in a forward direction. As we enter this age, we're coming into a world of a oneness of consciousness. Mankind is being elevated spiritually, and those who cannot continue to move with the pace of the coming times will no longer be here. We can't escape this change, for it's a part of natural law. And natural law, we know, applies to all of us. And there's just no way of getting around it, under it, over it, or through it. We must live it. We must understand that we need to live the essence of our spiritual being. We need to live the essence of spiritualism, that philosophy. We must recognize, more than we ever have before, we are our brother's keeper. We are responsible for others besides ourselves. Technology today is making our world smaller and smaller. And as it condenses and brings us closer together, it becomes more important that we understand other nationalities, other religions, other cultures, and most of all, know our own philosophy. Yes, Elizabeth Harlow Getz put that pamphlet out there, and it was around until about 2 or 3 years ago. It no longer was seen because it was considered old-fashioned. Well, my friends, spiritualism can't get old-fashioned because spiritualism is a progressive religion. So, you know what? She said that we would be the light of the world and that we should strive for it. But we missed it in the 19th century, and we missed it in the 20th century. But what a wonderful universe of natural law. We have another opportunity in the 21st century to become the light of the world. It's our opportunity, and whether we take it and whether we do something with it, it's up to us. Our truth requires that we be the way showers of the world. You know, today you read newspapers and magazines and you hear, oh, the subconscious is so-and-so. And oh, you know what? Man does have a soul. And oh, there's a new life after this one. Death isn't the end. We're hearing all these things that spiritualism has been saying for the last 160 years. So it's time that we try to bring this further into the understanding of others. As I said, we are way showers, and we need to be. And we need to remember that old adage, to those who much is given, much is expected. And so we have a big responsibility. How do we accomplish this? How do we do it in this century? We do it simply by going back to those 9 letters in spiritualism, by being spiritual, by having an understanding of the spirit within and the spirit projected without. We have an opportunity and we need to take advantage of it. We need to help in the transformation of humanity, bringing them from one side into the light. We need to take advantage of that ship that has such a solid foundation, it can sail the seas across the world as it did in 1852. The time is right, and we as spiritualists must be ready. Our philosophy in the 21st century must be projected in a way that it brings a desire within the heart of the hearer to become more involved, to gain a bigger and greater understanding, to become important in the movement, because each little stick is one stick that makes up all of those toothpicks in that container. And we are just all one little drop of water in that ocean of spiritual love and understanding. You know, Einstein once said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Well, we know that there have been spiritualists who allowed themselves to keep repeating the same thing, be it right or wrong, just repetition. We need to look at our past so that we don't make the same mistakes that were made. We need to look at our past so we can gain a new understanding of what's in front of us. But that doesn't mean that we have to do the same things, making the same mistakes. We need to know that we can move forward and we can grow in an understanding. And that is part of our job as spiritualists, is to elevate ourselves. We need to bring our philosophy forward, and we need to make it the truth that lightens the world. Where should we begin? Besides looking at self, where should we begin? Why not start with the 6th principle? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It was a simple teaching. We have convoluted it with all the silly ideas that we picked up along the way. So it's time for us to go back to the beginning and to follow our principles. And you know, how can we serve our brother? Just 7 letters make up one little word, and that is service. We can be of service to each other. You know, we don't have to do big dramatic things. A smile, picking up a loaf of bread for the neighbor, helping out with the church, helping our family, helping our friends, and praying for those who we don't particularly care for, as we elevate our consciousness to understand that they are on their journey, and it's not right for us to wonder what they're doing or how they're doing it. By being of service to each other, we do not judge. We do not condemn. We do not praise just to give praise and glory. We simply serve. And that's what we're all about, the rock of spiritualism. We need to raise our ideals to loftier ideals. And we need to bring our consciousness into a greater understanding. We need to bury the hatchet and put love in the front of us. Every time you get annoyed or discouraged with someone or something, stop and think of the word love. I would like to leave the words of Emerson with you as it falls in line with what I've been projecting. And that is, he said, do not follow the path where it may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. That's our job as spiritualists, to leave the trail of the light of spiritualism, so that spiritualism as we know it can become the light of the world. We need to pull together as one crew on this big ship, and we need to heed the words, to do unto others, to do what we need to do, to know that we can move forward. The crew that steers this ship must know that there is unity and strength. There is strength in truth. There is truth in oneness. And in oneness, there's peace. So as spiritualists today, we're fortunate we have a new century in which we can do that which was projected many years ago. We can make spiritualism the light of the world. And I'll leave just one little tidbit with you. On March 31st, 2012, all of the planets will be lined up exactly as they were on March 31st, 1848. It's time for our rebirth. We need the reality check.